Google has reportedly achieved a major breakthrough that would allow new kinds of computers to do calculations at speeds inconceivable with today's technology.
Dubbed quantum supremacy, researchers say that Google's Sycamore processor took just over 3 minutes to do something that supercomputers would need roughly 10,000 years to complete. Joining us to discuss this technological breakthrough and what it means for the future is friend of the show, astrophysicist Dr. Joe Pesce. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely.
All right, so just break down, what does this mean? Just let's start there.
Well, so let's step back first.
Okay.
And we talked about quantum computing earlier this year.
We did.
So let me refresh the discussion and talk about maybe why quantum computers do what they do.
Okay.
And so in a normal computer, so-called classical computer, we have bits, right? And bits can be in one of two states, 0 or 1.
Right.
Quantum computers use things called quantum bits or qubits. And qubits have this strange property, because they're quantum mechanical, that they can have two states at once. They can be both 0 and 1 until they're measured. So the interesting thing about this is that the number of states as you add qubits into the system increases exponentially. So with 1 qubit you have 2 states, with 2 qubits you have 4 states, with 3 qubits you have 8 states, so on, and you increase exponentially very rapidly, such that with a mere 100 qubits you would require every single atom on Earth to store the bits in a classical computer that a quantum computer could work with.
Wow.
Merely 100 qubits. Okay, so that's the background. So what then is this Google announcement from a couple of weeks ago? And as you stated, they claim to have achieved quantum supremacy. So what is quantum supremacy? Quantum supremacy is the ability of a quantum computer to perform significantly better than a classical computer. In the case of Google's research, they did, as you said, they did a calculation and a computer operation that took them 200 seconds to do, whereas a classical computer would take 10,000 years to perform. And by the way, they did that with 53 qubits, and those 53 qubits had 10 to the 16, 100 million billion states that it was able to access.
Wow.
Okay? And so that's why it did it so quickly, in 200 seconds, what a classical computer would take 10,000 seconds to do.
Huh.
So what are the implications of this technology?
Well, so, obviously, the speed of computing has been increased tremendously. And that's what gives quantum computers their great power. So we can analyze physical systems that would take normal computers the age of the universe. We can do it in a quantum computer in a week or whatever, right? I don't know if that's the exact comparison, but nonetheless, in a quantum computer, you can do things much, much more rapidly than in a classical computer. And so things like identifying useful drugs for human health, understanding nature, complex materials, learning how to put complex materials together to give us materials that are useful in a range of things, understanding the inner workings of stars, for example, so that we can understand fusion better, and we can use fusion. So it really is the speed of the quantum computer that is primarily the advantage. There's other things too, but it's just this massive complexity that can be reduced to a short amount of time.
Well, and it seems like essentially any code could be like instantaneously cracked by this type of computing power.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the uses as well. So there's security uses too.
And how is this state achieved? I read a little bit. You can either have like extreme cold temperatures where these quantum characteristics manifest, or talk a little bit about specifically how it works.
Yeah, so the issue is that you're working at this quantum mechanical state where nature at that very small level is in flux and changing all the time. So just low temperature material causes molecules to vibrate, and those vibrations can influence the qubit and affect the quantum mechanical state such that it's no longer useful. And so for the Google's technology, they use a technology where they chill the processor to speed, or the qubits, down to almost absolute zero. They're thousandths of a degree above absolute zero. Minus 460 degrees Fahrenheit, fundamentally.
Yeah.
And so at this temperature, molecules basically stop moving, and you don't get this environmental noise that affects the qubit. And so this allows the quantum computer to work.
Yeah.
Now that's not very practical for our
phones or
smartphones being
whatever.
chilled at minus 460 degrees. So there is other technology that's being developed to do quantum computing at higher temperatures.
Yeah, that was my next question, which is that some researchers had cautioned, don't get too excited about this. It's only going to be able to happen in a research environment for quite some time. I mean, could this ever come to the consumer? Would a consumer even need this? I mean, that's the real question.
Yeah.
Why would a consumer ever need a quantum computer?
Perhaps not.
Yeah.
More fundamentally, what has happened here? So this has been a fantastic result, right? And by the way, there is some issue with whether it's quantum supremacy or not. Quantum supremacy, again, is that you can't do in a practical time scale on a classical computer what you can do with a quantum computer. And so there's some argument that really it doesn't take 10,000 years for a classical computer to do this.
Yeah.
IBM says that they can do it in 2.5 days. But remember, Google is doing it in 200 seconds.
Right.
IBM is 2.5 days.
Right.
So whether it's supremacy or not, it's still a fantastic result.
Yeah. As they say, haters gonna hate.
But frankly, the 2.5 days of doing it on the classical computer is a fantastic breakthrough as well. So fundamentally, yes, this doesn't mean we're going to have a quantum computer tomorrow, but it's an important step, not a first step. This is built on years and years of research, but it's an important step. The analogy is the Wright brothers aircraft on Kitty Hawk. Wright brothers weren't thinking of the 747, but the 747 wouldn't exist without the Wright brothers' foundational work. And this is the same level that we're looking at. This is foundational. It's a necessary first step. We're on the right path. Ultimately, then, who knows when, decades, certainly, probably within our lifetime, we'll have a quantum computer. And that's a game changer.
Yeah.
And just because of the speed and the rapidity of being able to analyze these intractable problems that are intractable today.
And has the government been involved in this research, and are other governments around the world or other companies around the world at a similar place of advancement?
Well, I don't know the state of the field to say whether that's similar state of advancement. I mean, certainly the Google result is a tremendous.
It's a world-beating result.
It's a world-beating result, absolutely. There are other nations, and certainly lots of federal, U.S. federal support and research in quantum computing and related activities.
Yeah.
And this is the culmination of that. It's a fantastic result, and it's a mix of private sector and federally funded research coming together and making this happen.
Well,
and that's happening worldwide as well.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is, does this have commercial application, or is it a research tool mostly?
Well, at the moment it's research, but the
Yeah.
quantum computer will have commercial.
I mean, they're
What would
potentially
that look like?
AI developments.
Absolutely. And, so not only the quantum computer itself, that you have a thing at the end that can do these fantastic calculations, but the technology that goes into it is being advanced through the fundamental research that's being done. And so that'll have, spin-off effects as well.
Makes sense.
Fascinating.
Thank you,
Dr.
Chair.
Joe. Thank you. Great to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Coming up, a big reveal this morning. Senator Elizabeth Warren's Medicare for All plan is now out.
And a new Iowa poll has some devastating news for candidate Joe Biden. We're going to discuss those topics and more when Rising continues.